I was not very well when I was born. I was actually kind of sick. Sickly little kid. I was sick every day of my life when I was born. Every day. And the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They took me to all the doctors. I was in the hospital. We lived in Charlotte all the time, at the time. And I had all the bloodletting and the poking and the x-rays and the hanging upside down. And I never did figure out what was wrong with me. So what they eventually did was they put me on medicine that just made me stop being sick. But it didn't make me healthy. It just made me stop being sick, because if I forgot that medicine, I'd be sick the next day, just as if I'd never taken it before. You know, it really just, it's not like taking an aspirin for a headache. It didn't fix it. It just suppressed the symptoms. And I can tell you that I took that medicine for over 20 years. 20 years I took that. I took it through elementary school, through junior high, through high school, through college, and I took it on into the point where I became a landscaper. And one day I hurt my back doing landscaping, and I went to see the chiropractor. And somebody talked me into going to see the chiropractor. I'd never been to see one before. And I noticed after just a very few adjustments, like 3 or 4 adjustments, that when I forgot my medicine, I wasn't sick anymore. It's like, wow, go figure with that. So I thought maybe it was just a coincidence, and then I noticed several other health coincidences related to chiropractic. So I decided to go to chiropractic school because I thought it was really interesting and had a great thing going for it, helping people be healthy. But tell me, what in the world is it about chiropractic that can help you get off your medicine when you're sick every day? I mean, who would have known? I mean, everybody knows chiropractic helps back pain, right? Neck pain, headaches, maybe carpal tunnel, you know, maybe some of this, maybe, but that really help people be healthier? How could that be? The answer lies in the nervous system. The nervous system controls all the functions of the body. It controls heart rate. It controls breathing. It controls your liver, your lungs, your large intestine, your stomach. It works with your immune system. It works with every system in the body. And as you can see here, the nervous system goes to all, this is just a few of the organs of the body, and they all have a nerve supply. Think about it. If you're driving down the road, eating a lunch out of a bag, and drinking a drink, and tuning the radio, do you really have to think about how much stomach acid you need to digest that lunch you're eating out of a bag? Not really, right? Okay. So, do you have to think about how fast your heart's going to beat and how high your blood pressure is going to be when that blue light goes off behind you? You don't have to think about that either. And when it's over, you don't have to go in and pull a button and turn it down. You don't have to think about that thing because the nervous system does all that for you. As a matter of fact, the nervous system is such an important part of regulating the functions of the body. Let me ask you a question. If you could feel pain with every single, I want you to know, see these 3 things up here? I forgot one last time. I'm going to do my best not to forget them. We're going to cover them all. So those things might be a clue to some of the questions I might ask you. If you felt pain with every single fiber of your being that you can feel pain with, how much of your nervous system would you be using?
90%.
90%. Any other guesses? 100%, 90%, 100%. If I got 110, but going once, going twice. How about 10%? If you felt pain with every fiber that you feel pain with, you'd be using 10% of your nervous system. You know what the other 90% does?
Runs everything.
Runs everything, exactly. Isn't that interesting? So let's imagine that you're a little kid and you fall off a swing, and you get a misalignment in your spine, up here in the upper back. Maybe you fall off a bike, or maybe you slip on the ice, or maybe you're roller skating, or maybe you fall out of a tree, or maybe you roll out of the bed, or So let's imagine that there's a misalignment in the upper back here. This part of the spine goes to the heart. Now, when you're little, you get up and you shake this off, right? You just shake it off. Your body adapts because you're young and you're flexible, and everything moves great except this one spot. Let's imagine that stays there for 30 years. But this can happen anywhere in the body. And what this is going to do is this is going to bring us to the biggest secret of health that you don't know about, but you do. Because I can tell you that you know about this, but it's advertised out of you every day. Literally, if you pay any attention to anything on TV or radio or print, it's advertised out of you every day. And this is the biggest secret to health right here. This is really important. There's a wisdom in our body that heals the body. There's a wisdom that lives within us that heals the body, and makes the body, it replaces the cells every day. You know what? People say, oh, my shoulder, I've had this shoulder for bad shoulder for 20 years. You know how many times that same shoulder has been replaced in 20 years? About 8. It's not the same shoulder it was 20 years ago. So anyway, the early chiropractors, the way they said this was the power that made the body heals the body. It needs no help. It just needs no interference. Now the misalignment is the interference. Now if you jump out of an airplane and parachute doesn't go off, that's some pretty big interference, right? I mean, there are limitations to matter. There's limitations to what the body can do. But within normal working conditions, it has a wisdom that heals, it has a wisdom that remakes the body, it has a wisdom that guides everything. Now, can you imagine 1895 saying that? That's why they thought chiropractors were crazy. Now everybody knows that, right? And it's Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and who else? Susie Ormond, and she does the money stuff, I guess. But all the the health gurus now, Dr. Oz, they all say this. But on the other side of the coin is all the drug advertising that says, hey, if your knee hurts, just take a pill and keep going. If you can suppress the pain, you're healthy. Just like suppress my illness, I'd be healthy, but I wasn't really healthy, I just was not sick that day. And when we correct these misalignments, I can tell you, I mean, it's an amazing thing. I hear amazing things in my office. I hear amazing stories. People sit up and they go, wow, whoa, that feels great. I can turn my head again. Wow, well, that's a good story. Oh, wow, doc, oh, my back doesn't hurt anymore. I don't have the sciatica. I don't have the sciatica down my leg. I don't have the rheumatiz down my leg. It feels better now. Those are good stories. Dr. Whittington, I can play with my grandkids again. That's a good story. Dr. Whittington, I can go back to work. That's a good story. I heard a good story the other day. A woman came in, she thought she was going to have back surgery. She came in, and she had an MRI, and she had a bulging disc, and she couldn't go to work. And I mean, she was a mess. And she came in like 3 times for 2 weeks, and 2 times for 2 weeks, and 1 time for a couple of weeks. And at the end of about a month, she got up and she said, Dr. Whittington, my back feels great. And I thought I was going to have back surgery. I was like, okay, great. I pulled out my phone, and I said, let me have a testimonial. So I pulled it out. She said, what I'd really like to tell you about is I don't have to use my inhaler anymore. And there's another woman I told a story about last time who's a potter. Do you remember the story about the potter who couldn't sit at the wheel and pot? That's how she makes her living. Well, I talked to her about that, and what she told me was, she says, she had a reevaluation the other day. She says, I didn't have my seasonal allergies this year. Go figure that. Is there an allergy button? People come in and say, can you just push the headache button? It is, sometimes there is a headache button. And sometimes there's a vertigo button. Sometimes there's an adrenal gland button. But really, it's not about flipping the switch. You know, people have these subluxations for years and years and years and years. You know, they get them when they're 2 years old. They get them when they're born. You imagine being curled up in a C curve inside your mama's belly for 9 months, and the first day you pop out, they hang you upside down by your. He's falling apart. Hang you upside down by your legs and hit you on the butt, and you have to straighten out like that, and then they hit you. Do you think that might be traumatic? What happens is these bones get out of place, and they get locked out of place, and they grind funny. They wear and tear, and it causes grinding on the disc. It causes grinding on the joint. You hear popping and cracking sometimes. And other stories that people tell me, so Dr. Whittington, all I was doing was tying my shoe. You ever heard a story like that? Dr. Whittington, all I was doing was reaching for a coffee cup. Dr. Whittington, all I did was sneeze, and the pain went down my leg, and my feet got numb. And what I have to say is, well, you know, if you had a healthy spine, you could tie your shoes all day long. And so how to just tie my shoe make that go bad like that? It's like, it's because it's been like that for 30 years. We look at the x-rays, and the discs are degenerated. They got bone spurs. They got, you know, misalignments. And you know, you can have a subluxation for years and not know it. It doesn't have to cause pain. Remember, you only feel pain with 10% of your nervous system anyway, right? So, you know, when people come in and they say things like that, and we take a picture, you know, they say, oh, well, you know, just pop me back in place and I'll be fine. And it usually takes a little bit of time. What happens with this is the disc in between the vertebrae grind and wear and tear. Have you ever heard of a herniated disc or a bulging disc? Everybody heard of that? Raise your hands. Anybody here got one? This is what happens over time. And the joints grind and wear and tear just like the front end of a car. If it's out of alignment, it's just going to wear out over time. You may not even feel it at first. And then one day you sneeze and boom, something snaps and severe pain. This is what the aging process of the spine is. This is how the spine ages. Now, if we all have perfect posture, we don't have any subluxations. I mean, we don't, you know, I see people that are 70 and 80 years old that have great spines. And I see people that are 20, I mean, now, with a bad posture for teenagers, I see people that are 16 years old that have really horrible posture, and they're set up for, you know, early aging of the spine. But with adjustments, you can literally reverse the aging process of the spine. You can't reverse aging, but you can slow or reverse the aging process of the spine by reducing subluxations and getting rid of all this grinding and stuff in the